Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. I'm Ali Morn. I'm the founder of People Puzzles, and I'm now the chair of the board. I started People Puzzles 11 and a half years ago, so it's really fantastic to be doing a series of webinars to encourage people to think about joining the team. So hopefully you're going to have some more information today about what it's like to work with us, some of the pros and cons, and you're going to get to hear from one of our real live people directors, Kerry Howard. So I'm going to get going, and I've got some slides, but I'm going to turn them off in a minute so you can get a bit more of Kerry and I chatting. So our HR directors all come from bigger businesses, and they've had senior HR or people director or some other fantastic job title, normally one or two or more jobs at that level. And we really are looking for people who have sort of had enough of that corporate experience and maybe want more flexibility or variety, want a different life really. So most people who join our team work 3 days a week or 4 days a week, and some do work 5 days a week, but typically there's a real desire for a different way of living when people join People Puzzles. I think of our nearly 60 people directors that we've got on the team, probably all but 5 are part-time, and so really are exploring that work-life balance that people talk about so much at the moment. And we're really looking for people who understand that HR brings a huge commercial added value to a business and really changes how a business can work. So as we go on, if you've got any questions that you want us to answer, please do put them in the chat box. We probably won't get to all of them, but we can always answer those on an individual basis afterwards. So just to give you a hint of the kind of clients that we work with, you can certainly see case studies on the website, but most of our clients are turning over between 3 and 50 million pounds. We obviously have some larger ones and a couple of smaller ones as well, but that typically means between 30 and 300 employees. So it really is that mid-tier, slightly bigger than the S of the SME, and our clients share a desire to grow, to be better at managing their people. They're often very ambitious. They want to have long-term stable businesses. Some of them are family run, some of them are still owner managed, and some are more corporate in their setup. And it's a huge range of sectors, everything from manufacturing to logistics to tech to fintech, retail, everything. We've got clients nearly doing every single different thing you can imagine. And I guess if I was going to summarize what we do with them in just 4 headings, it would be being a great place to work, building really productive and efficient teams, and building some profitable workplaces, I guess, developing highly skilled workforce, and then taking away the pain of HR issues. So issues that are rising, sorting those out and really lifting the load of some of the people questions and challenges of the business leaders. So without further ado, I'm going to invite Kerry to turn on her camera and unmute and join me. And I'm going to stop sharing the screen, which I'm going to share again later. So Kerry, wonderful to have you with us today. Thanks for joining. Would you mind just starting off by saying how long you've been in People Puzzles, if you can remember, and sort of a quick overview of how it's been so far?
Yeah, no problem. So I've been with People Puzzles now 2.5 years. I can honestly say, and funny enough, I said this to somebody this morning, it was the best career move that I've ever made. So quite daunting to take that step from corporate, where you've got your guaranteed income every month, you've got your company car, you've got your booper, you've got all of that stuff. Initially, it's quite daunting to take that step, but I can honestly say in that 2.5 years, I've not looked back, not once.
Brilliant. That's obviously keen to hear that lovely story, Kerry. That's fantastic. So tell us about what it was like to leave the corporate world. What are some of the highs and the lows on the journey to joining People Puzzles?
So I can honestly say the highs have far outweighed the lows. In terms of lows, I wouldn't necessarily call it a low. I think when I very first came on board, there was that trepidation around, have I done the right thing? I've left a senior role, I've left a board of directors, and I'm on my own. But very quickly, I understood that I'm not on my own at all. So, you know, my first couple of weeks I spent reaching out to other people directors. I got involved with the central team, got involved with my regional director in terms of, you know, what's happening in the region, and quite quickly built those relationships. And I think the other area was the income. So, you know, going from your stable salary every month to, I guess it's just the unknown more than anything. So you're thinking, certainly in your first couple of months, it's around, and the induction and the whole recruitment process is really good for this. So I expected to feel the way that I felt. There was no secrets through the recruitment process. You know, for me, it was, okay, I know there's going to be a small lull, but then I know that I'm going to land a client. And I resigned from my corporate role in the July. I was put on garden leave so that I could get my new business up and running. So my induction with People Puzzles was in the September, and by the November I had my first client. So there was nothing to worry about. But I think it's that initial, when you take that step and the money doesn't hit your bank account on the 25th, which it has always done before, it's natural to just feel a little uneasy. But honestly, within 3 months that had gone.
Brilliant. So if you can put your finger on it, what was it that prompted you to resign and want to do something different?
So I know exactly what it was. An NDA came around the board table for something like the 5th time in the 5 years I'd been with the business. So we had been acquired, we had acquired other businesses, and I just sat there and thought, I don't want to do this anymore. I've continually restructured. I want something different, and I want more variety. And at that very time, People Puzzles had put an advert out looking for PDs. And I thought, you know what, I've got nothing to lose. Nothing may come of it, but if I don't explore that option, you know, at the time I had a 3-year-old, I was traveling a lot, I wasn't home much, and I just thought, I want something different for my life. And, you know, honestly, it's been amazing.
Brilliant. Thanks, Kerry. So what do you see as the main differences of being part of People Puzzles compared to being an independent consultant working on your own?
For me, I think it's the support more than anything. So as an independent, we all know that you would set your own rates, but equally, you'd have to find your own work. You're going into competition with other independents. You have to provide your own tools. So if I think about the things that People Puzzles give me, so we've got marketing support. I've got a regional director that I can tap into whenever I need to. I've got coming up to 60 other PDs, all of which are happy to share their knowledge. And then on top of that, we've got the HR, the CIPD HR Inform tool. We've got the conferences a couple of times a year. We have bi-weekly, in our region, bi-weekly Teams calls. For me, it's that support that you just, I think it would be quite a lonely place being an independent.
Yeah, thank you. So we've got some questions coming in. Can you talk to us, I mean, the word assignments being used, which of course we don't really use, but can you talk about sort of what does it look like when you're working with a client? How long does it last? Talk us through what it's like doing the work.
Okay, so we tend to look for those long-term relationships. So we don't tend to go for the projects. That said, I have had a few. So I've had a few clients that have come on board, but been very open at the start to say, look, this is 3 months. We want to look at our HR strategy, or I want you to help me recruit a head of HR. But they tend to be longer term. So if I look at the clients I've got on board currently, I've got 3 that have ticked over a year. I've got a few that I've been with between 6 months and a year, and I've just onboarded 2 brand new ones. So for me, I think the positive is you've always got that variety. So with your longer term clients, they get to know you, you get to know them, and you really are part of their team. And then when you're onboarding new ones, I quite like that. I like the mix of the established and then bringing new clients on. But I have to say, projects isn't something that we really do as a norm. That's not our BAU.
Yeah, great. So that's right. We work with clients that we typically will stay with for 2, 3, 4 years on a very part-time basis. So just talk us through, Kerry, what does a month feel like? And, you know, how many clients are you working with at a time? What's the rhythm of life?
Okay, so in total, funny enough, I added it up last night. I have 10 clients now, but don't panic. It's not 10 clients all needing stuff regularly. So I've got some smaller ones that just kind of dip in and out as they need something. And then I've got some larger ones. With the larger ones, I tend to work 1 day a week with them. I've got 2 on retainer, so that gives them and me the flexibility. So you don't bill on a day rate, you bill on a month. One of them I've spoken to every day this week because they're going through a period of change and they need that support. Yeah, it tends to be a day a week, day a fortnight. What I really like about the People Puzzles model is I'm in control of my diary. So I deal directly with the client, I work out what the client needs, and then I diarise the time. I would say currently 90% of work is remote. So I'm using Teams or Zoom. There's an element of travel if I want it. Again, we've got amazing clients. I don't think there's a single one that through the pandemic has said you must come into the office. They're all respectful and they're all grateful for what we give them. So my pattern currently, I'm probably averaging 10 to 12 days a month. Right now I'm happy with that. But again, if ever I want more, I just reach out to the regional director and say, I've got some bandwidth. Are there any new clients on board?
Brilliant. That leads us really nicely onto a question that's just come in. Can you just very briefly explain how the sort of selling of work happens? So what's your job and who supports you in that?
Okay, so the regional director, the way it works in the south, the regional director, John, goes in first. So John will work with marketing on the leads. He'll identify whether they're warm, and he will go in and do the initial. So he'll talk about People Puzzles, he'll talk about the model, and he'll ascertain whether there's a need, an interest, a way forward. Once he's done that, he'll make contact with some clients like to see 2 PDs. Largely, they will take the regional director's word for who he or she feels is more appropriate. And then John puts us as the PDs in touch directly with the client. And then normally I would have a conversation first, which is that chemistry to make sure that I fit with them, and equally it's that they fit with me. I did have a call with one once who wanted me to travel to their offices. Their offices weren't local. So, you know, it was really good. It was refreshing. I could have the conversation, say, look, I'm based on the South Coast. I'm happy to travel for some of the time, but I don't want to travel 1 day a week to wherever it is. And we reached a halfway house, and that, you know, that client I'm still with today. So he will do the first bit, then you go in as the PD. And then once the client decides that they might like to explore a bit further, that's when we go in and do our discovery, report back our findings, and then our aim is always that we will convert that to a long-term client with a commitment at the end of it.
Brilliant. Thanks, Kerry. So can you tell us just a really quick client story of something you've been actually doing maybe in the last month with a client, what they actually wanted you to help with?
Yeah, so I've got a client in financial services who had been very hands-off, really. So I onboarded them in July. They went through a period of change. So I did the discovery. They came back and said, yeah, we agree with everything that you've said, but now's not the right time for us. We need to establish some funding. Once we've done that, we'll be back in touch. So I kept in touch with them. I did little bits and pieces. And then literally the week before Christmas, they came back to me, true to their word, and said, could you be our HR director? Could you work on retainer? And could you possibly, by the first week in January, if we send you our business strategy, could you possibly pull together for us a HR strategy and present that to the board? I presented that this week. And that's the great thing with these clients. They genuinely want your help, and there genuinely is a need. There's none of what I experienced in a corporate world where things would take 4 to 6 weeks to get signed off, or you might have to go back around it. They've signed off the strategy, they've signed the retainer, and I'm now working for them 1 day a week as their HRD. So that's as quick as it moves.
And do they have an in-house team? Like, yeah, of your clients, how many of them have got someone else doing some of the legwork, and how many of them have just got you?
Most of them have a team. So that team may only be 1 or 2 people, but they tend to have somebody doing the operational stuff. And where they've got the gap is at the strategic level. So I go in as an advisor to the board and also an advisor to the team. So commonly they may have HR managers, HR advisors on site who look to us for a bit of that mentoring and coaching support. But yeah, usually there's somebody on the ground, albeit, you know, they could be fairly junior.
Yeah, great. We use a phrase a lot at People Puzzles: they don't want, they don't need, or they can't afford a full-time HR director. And I think that sort of perfectly sums up how we fit in with the client and with the team internally. Brilliant. So last question for you, Kerry. Can you talk us through one of the People Puzzles values and what that means for you, if you can remember them?
Oh my goodness, they've gone from my head.
Pragmatic, passionate, still learning.
Right, I'll go for pragmatic. I think for me, pragmatic really does sum up People Puzzles. It sums up the approach that we take to working with our clients, and it sums up what they come to us for. They don't come to us for long, convoluted board papers. They come to us for very real advice and very real solutions. And I think for me, that's what sets us apart. Everything we do has a pragmatic and passionate approach to it.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kerry. That's really kind. I'm going to move on with my slides now, but thank you so much for coming and doing that sort of real life glimpse into what it's like working with our team.
No problem. I'll stay on. I'll go on mute. And then obviously if anyone's got any questions, I'm happy to answer at the end.
Perfect. Thank you, Kerry. So I'm just going to pick my slides back up, and there we go. There's a lovely picture of Kerry, which I could have shown earlier. So sorry about that, Kerry. So look, I will try to answer any other questions that are sent in as we go through, and please do pop them in if you've got any new ones, but hopefully this section will answer a few questions. So look, here are some ideas we've had about why you might want to be a portfolio people director with People Puzzles. It's a lot of P's when I say that. So it is, as Kerry's talked about, more control of your life. We really do focus on results for our clients, and it's not about the politics or the bureaucracy. The fast-moving nature of those mid-tier firms where things can just get done and agreed and you can start work tomorrow is really refreshing for loads of people that join us, and you make a real difference. So the ideas that you come up with, the initiatives that you put in make a real difference to people's lives. And I wasn't really planning to talk about our vision, but for me, reason People Puzzles exist is to change businesses and to make them really effective and amazing places to work for the people who are there. And that has a huge knock-on effect to the lives of the people that are in that business, to their families, and then even into their communities. So I do feel, I don't want to get all sort of fervent on you, but making a real difference is something that all of our team say they feel at People Puzzles. And maybe that's something fresh if they haven't felt that in the last few years in their corporate careers. And amazing colleagues, of course, goes without saying. Now, there we go. So we really do take the top 1%. We have thousands of, well, at least hundreds, over 1,500 applications to join People Puzzles every year. So it is fairly competitive. And we do take only the top 1% of people who apply. And it can be pretty hard to get in. So if you're listening, I do, you know, we love applications, of course we do, and we wish you luck. But let me tell you the top things that we're looking for people who join us. So firstly, it's being a great fit with the team, and great commercial skills are really part of that. You need to understand how business works and how getting people on the same page, doing the right stuff, really contributes to business success. Secondly, you need to understand that this SME world is quite different to corporate. So how does an owner manager or a family run business, how is that different to a corporate salaried business leader role? Because it really is different. So working strategically at senior level, coaching, supporting those people is really part of the remit. Thirdly, we want people to join us who want to keep on learning. So it isn't a sort of retirement job. It's about people who say, I want to engage and really be the best part-time portfolio HR director I can possibly be, and continue to go on that journey of learning how to do that. Fourthly, and I hope this answers some of the questions that have come in, we want people who are going to commit to People Puzzles. So everybody who joins us runs their own limited company, they're self-employed consultants, and some people do join and they already have a couple of clients, which can continue. But when people join us at People Puzzles, they commit to exclusively working with People Puzzles for new clients going forwards, because we really do want people to be part of the team and taking all the learning and the support and how People Puzzles works, and then any new clients coming into that People Puzzles relationship. That's what we're looking for. And then finally, having the ability to fund the startup phase. So Kerry talked about that leaving of the comfortable PAYE 25th of the month type of role and moving into a role that is a bit more risky. There's a period of time as people join us, they do induction, we help them to sort of transfer to this different way of working, and there's that phase where no money's coming in, perhaps for 2 months, perhaps for 3, but as Kerry talked about, having her first client 2 months after she started with us, it doesn't take long to get a first client, but it can take a number of months to get really full to the level that you want to be. So you need to have the ability to fund that startup phase. So that means you need some financial stability for the beginning part of working with us. So who are we looking for? Well, job title isn't important, but board level, strategic, able to coach the senior team, understanding how business works, and being really enthusiastic and passionate is what is important to us. So we expect people to be quite curious and really want to get under the skin of the businesses that they work with and understand what's important to the leaders and how they can facilitate an amazing HR strategy to help that business to succeed. And look, not every client is right for us, and certainly not every client is right for every PD. So we do that matching element and find the right person for the right client. And that often is done by the regional director, but it sometimes, as Kerry said, can be done by the client who want to meet more than one person on the team. And the selling is done predominantly by the regional directors, but there is that element of helping to sort of close the deal and to get embedded and to meet the client and to sort of demonstrate that fit will work really well. So why People Puzzles? Well, someone asked me the question the other day about whether we take any money up front. We don't. So we only take people to join us who we really believe that they will get busy, they'll get full, and that they will succeed in this way of working. So we provide marketing and sales, and our people directors get to focus on what they do best, which is normally the HR, hopefully the HR. So take away a lot of that contracting, invoicing, admin, IR35 burden, and we do work outside of IR35, and we've done a lot of work around how that works in practice. We've got a really good central team who support our people directors and are really committed to helping people to get busy quickly and to stay busy while they're working with us. And so it is a low risk to transfer to this way of portfolio lifestyle away from a sensible job. And we do have amazing clients that do all sorts of incredible things, and it's companies that I kind of maybe wouldn't have even known that they existed until we started working with them, and that is really part of the fun of it. So why not? Of course, we don't think there are many downsides, but we've tried to think of the ones, and obviously you don't get the whole day rate because you're part of a business that needs funds to support the sales and marketing, but we do, and our team do, feel that the way we split is a very fair way to do it. Getting busy does still take some time, but we don't really think there are many others. So we can go into the financials, etc., sort of after application. That's when we do that part of it all. So just to come back to the questions, and I think the only one I've got outstanding is this one about various stages of the selection process. So please shout in the box now if there's any others I've missed. So the selection process sort of overall works like this. You apply through the link on LinkedIn, and you need to upload your CV and answer a couple of questions, and also do a Thomas International Disc test. You then will be sort of CV sorted by Claudia, who's our head of resourcing, and then she arranges initial phone screening interviews with the right people, and often that might be prioritised by the location that we are sort of madly keen for new people in straight away. So that's often like an hour's phone call with Claudia, something like that. And then you have a formal interview with one of our HR directors. So we've got a couple of HR directors that are helping us with interviewing at the moment. And that's a more in-depth interview. That's all done on Zoom at the moment, or Teams or something like that. And then if you're successful at that point, it will be introducing you to your local regional director, who will have sort of a chemistry meeting, I guess you could call it. And that's about them being really confident that you've got the right skills for the types of clients that they're winning in the local area. And they're really confident they can sell you into our local clients, that there's that really good fit there. So that's the process. It sometimes happens very rapidly. It sometimes can take a couple of weeks to get through that. And then we do an induction, a 2-day induction, where we get people together if we possibly can, and there's not COVID free flowing. And we do 2 days to really help you get to grips with this way of working in the transition. So we're not going to talk about percentages or how the fee split works on the webinar today, because we don't do that, but you can certainly contact us individually to find out more about that. Yes, we have got opportunities in the Northeast. At the moment, I think we're looking for about 10 people directors, quite a few. So we're definitely fully committed to hiring at the moment, and that does ebb and flow through the year, but we are often recruiting in one region or another. And it can always be worth applying, because you know, it's great to connect. And I would really encourage you to connect with Claudia. I've put her profile on here, but if you just search her on LinkedIn, all of the job adverts that are specific to the areas we're really actively hiring in come out on Claudia's profile. So she's a great person to connect with, and then you'll see when we're having job adverts circulating around. And yes, we are typically looking for people who are available immediately, but immediately can be 3 months. You know, once we do the screening, then we do induction. It can really either be an urgent or a sort of slightly longer term need. So yeah, it isn't all immediate tomorrow, but sometimes it is. So I think that's all we've got time for. Yeah. Thank you very much for joining us, and I'm going to close the webinar then, but if we have missed a question, please just send it in. You can either ping me on LinkedIn a question, or you can sort of just apply, and then questions can be answered in that initial telephone conversation with Claudia. So I hope that has been useful, and thanks so much for joining. We really appreciate it, and thank you to Kerry for really sharing so much of what the journey has been like for you. So goodbye for now.